This is hands down the most fun collaboration I am ever going to be doing. It's with the mini human, and we are going to be, well, she is going to be designing her dream bedroom while I DIY it. I'm going to be breaking this up just how I see fit, and I thought it would be fun to do a video on how to paint and like a little vlog style of her design process.
I like these two a lot, but I also kind of like if it has a little bit of a bluey tone, but I don't like when it's too blue. Thinking this one, or Island Oasis.
And that's funny because you're going to Hawaii on Friday.
Yeah.
This is the process that we went through for her to pick out the accent wall color because she wants to do the other 3 walls.
I need the ultra pure white for 3 of my walls.
So that's what you want. You literally want ultra pure white. So people aren't thinking that I'm like joshing them.
No, I want ultra pure white.
On how many of the walls?
3.
After we figured out all of her colors and I purchased a couple different tools that I haven't tested out, I wanted to share the process with you because I feel like on YouTube there's so many different how to paint tutorials, but they don't break it down realistically. Even though I may not know the best way to paint a room and I'm still figuring it out, I refuse to pay another $1 to have someone paint a bedroom for me. I had someone paint a small guest bathroom and they charged me $750 for the day, and it was just like, after that it was no way. To start off, I actually had some semi-gloss left on hand, and it's all ultra pure white. The semi-gloss is going to be for the trim and the doors. The 2 gallons of the ultra pure white with the eggshell finish, the purple label, that is going to be for the 3 white walls she was requesting, and that's because eggshell is just a little bit easier to clean. I feel like a lot of people know the basics of painting a room, aka me, but you can buy a couple of more things that will make your life a little easier. I've linked absolutely everything that I'm using in this tutorial down below for you in the description box. Something I've learned to invest in is a nicer quality painter's tape. I like to use the frog tape, but don't think you can't use the blue regular Scotch tape. I just like to use the frog tape for accent walls and crisp lines. I also like to have a plastic tarp on hand that I could use for multiple projects, so I know I'm never running out. But I will also always have a cloth one because that's just an easy grab and go and drop and paint. The accent wall color that she ended up choosing was actually called Aloha, which was even more fitting because she was literally in Hawaii when she texted me her color choice, and she requested gold circles up on that wall. She didn't tell me how, so I chose the easiest way, which were these stickers that I found off of Amazon that ended up looking gorgeous. Instead of just using the metal tray that you see me use before and adding a trash bag over it, I upgraded to getting these tray liners, which make your life a lot easier. Same thing with the different cups and buckets that I had. I just decided to purchase liners for them. I have my roller that can extend, the roller covers, an angled brush, a trim brush, and I'm trying this trim pad situation. Again, I've linked everything down below. I have all my paint, but then you see I have joint compound instead of spackling mud because the joint compound can wash away easy with water and be sanded down easily, so that's why I have a spackle knife and a little sanding pad as well. Tip 1, if you're like me and you think oh, I'm just gonna buy another paintbrush and not clean it, please don't do that because they are actually pretty expensive and it can get pricey if you're painting multiple rooms in your house and you're just not cleaning them because you have no patience like me, and then it just ends up costing you in the end. As throughout this entire video and all my videos, I'm going to keep it real with you. I like to space my painting out over a weekend thinking I can get it done. Even with help, that's not even the case because it's just so tedious and I get really bored and impatient. So the first day, I'll purchase all the materials to paint a room. Then I will pull all the furniture into the middle of the room if I'm keeping it there or it's too heavy for me to move completely out of the space. This is me explaining to you what I just said very aggressively for whatever reason, but now that we have everything moved to the center of the room, I start with taping off the easiest things. I like to start off by removing the outlet covers and covering the outlet with a little piece of painter's tape. I also like to have a bin or a bag on hand to place every single outlet cover and screw. That way when I'm done painting, I know exactly where every single one is because I tend to lose them. The reason I'm not getting crazy when taping off the trim is because I will be replacing this carpet, but I still wanted to do a thorough tape and tarp job to show you guys how, even though I'm getting rid of the carpet, I want to try to avoid as many paint splatters as possible. If you guys haven't seen the show Dexter, look it up because that's essentially what I'm doing to this room right now. I have learned my lesson one too many times that if I do not take the precaution to cover absolutely everything in tarp, somehow, some way, the biggest stain will be in the one spot that I didn't cover it. For light fixtures like this chandelier, you can definitely tape and tarp them off, but please be sure not to switch that light fixture on at all because you legit will burn all the way through the tarp and you'll start to smell something and freak out and realize it's the bulbs burning onto the tarp plastic. Taping and tarping the areas I just showed you took me about an hour and a half by myself. When Elena, who basically is my sister-in-law, hit me up and asked me what I was doing, and I let her know I was painting a bedroom, and she responded that she loved painting a bedroom, I typically would not accept help, and I decided tip number 2 should be, why not? Accept help, let this move quicker, have some fun with your company, offer them up rosé and a sushi dinner, and just make a girl's day of it. You'll notice she is using the frog tape to tape onto the white wall to make a trim for the accent wall. She's going to be focusing on finishing up the accent wall while I start to paint all the other 3 walls. I went ahead and lined both my handy pails. Of course, I buy the wrong size, but if you just smash it on in there, it really doesn't matter because it does its job regardless. And then this Pelican one that is meant for a mini roller that I thought I wouldn't end up using, I actually ended up using for a hard to reach place, which you'll see later. I basically put everything we could potentially use to paint this room on that dresser that I turned on its side, and we were good to go. Instead of trimming out the room with a paintbrush, I decided to try this trim pad. I couldn't find a link for it, but I did link something I think that is much better. It did come in handy. The only thing with this is learning how to control the drips because it's a new tool for me. I wouldn't recommend using it to trim out the ceiling. I know that's not what it was used for, but I was lazy and I tried anyways. The white ended up getting onto the ceiling and they're 2 completely different whites, so I ended up having to repaint the ceiling, which was a good choice anyways. I totally forgot to mention this because I did this off camera, but I patched all the holes where all the nails were previously with that joint compound. I've done that in the playroom makeover, so I'll link that for you here. Just a complete side note, I do recommend painting with somebody. Not only does it speed up the process, obviously ×2, but it makes this not so miserable. I absolutely despise painting a bedroom, and this made it bearable when she was there. When she wasn't, I was definitely gonna pull my hair out. When Elena finished up the Aloha Blue accent wall, I just removed that tray liner, put a new one in, dumped in that ultra pure eggshell finish white, dipped a new roller cover into it, and just started painting the walls. I like to do it when the trim is wet so it blends a little bit better, and you don't want to go all the way up over the trim like you see me doing in a couple of areas. You want to just barely meet it, because if you overlap it, there's going to be like a lot more paint in the middle section versus it kind of just seamlessly blending. Another cool thing about having another pair of hands is where I start rolling the paint, the trim is basically dried by the time I finish one wall. So Elena has come behind me and has started trimming out the room again. That way I just have to come back and do one more coat of paint and basically the room would be finished. A fun fact about me is that when I am so focused, I do not pay attention to anything like that ladder falling and hitting the wet wall. I just kept it moving. And I don't know about anybody else, but my dog comes in and judges me hardcore when I'm making over a room. So that's always fun. This is the second coat of paint, about 2 glasses in of rosé. And you see I start getting these new techniques because I am getting over it. But gotta keep moving forward. We started it. A mistake that we made was we painted all the way up to the green tape that was trimming out that accent wall. So when I peeled it off, there was like a thick, noticeable line that would be really hard to blend. So just make sure you don't go all the way up to the tape if you're doing what you see me doing for an accent wall here. So it's just gonna make it a little bit harder to blend. After we trimmed out twice and we added 2 coats, I decided to call it quits and take her out to sushi and revisit this the next day. I wanted to put this jumpsuit on to show you could definitely use this if you need to use something to cover up your clothes when you're painting, but for me, it gets way too hot and I literally broke out in a heat rash, which I'm getting looked at today. Ew, total side note. But when I came back in the next day, I noticed I could still see the gray, and I honestly have no clue how I have to do 3 coats of paint every time. I feel very wasteful, but I do try to like ease up and try not to use so much paint. But even where my rooms have been professionally done, I've noticed the base color still popping through in a couple of spots, and I don't know if that's normal or not. I did the same thing with the green tape to clean up the white walls against the accent wall and peeled that off while it was wet. I ended up using this Pelican bucket with a liner and my mini roller because I had to reach behind her flat screen that didn't like pull out, and I was way too lazy to take it down and paint it properly, so I just tried to reach as much as humanly possible. Trim I just freehanded with a brush. It wasn't the best way to do it, so I didn't want to showcase it, but I did paint it white. And now it's time to reinstall all the outlet covers and move on to the accent wall sticker portion. To wrap my head around how I was going to be spacing these stickers, I decided to measure the width of the wall, which was 150 inches. I thought tacking off 10 inches from each side would just make it look really pretty, and then I divided that by 10 because it would be even, so I could place 13 stickers all the way across. To make sure that these stickers are level all the way across without having to tape or anything, I'm actually testing out this tool sent to me by the Perspective program over at Home Depot. It's a 40-foot Bosch self-leveling crossline laser with Visimax green beam. This is me realizing I have to throw out the math that I did because the window is not centered to the wall. So I honestly just marked 2 inches in for the first sticker to be placed and then found the middle of the wall and lined up that self-leveling beam to that marking point so I could start adding the stickers. The mount is included for this self-leveling crossline laser, and yes, this one is the 40-foot, and when you turn it on, you'll notice it has a bright green beam. It's also self-leveling within 4 degrees, so if you start to line up that onto the wall, it will almost like shake and then get still, and you'll know that that's what is level. If it starts to blink as you see here, that means that it is not level, so it will continuously blink until it's within that 4 degrees that it can fix itself. Say this 40-foot isn't cutting it for you, there are other options like this 65-foot self-leveling crossline level with plumb points, and this actually has a red laser. I actually use this for my entryway makeover to line up all my photos. That's why it looked like I just got it first try every time, but that's because it has a 1/8 inch accuracy. There's an extended range with a detector, but I'm not using that in this case, but this was honestly a lifesaver during this process since this was such a large wall and I was able to cover the entire thing with this Bosch 65-footer. This 65-foot, unlike the 40-foot, actually comes with vertical plumb points as well. I just want to let you know a couple of different options because you might need it for different applications or looking to add a line laser to your tool belt. I understand that not everybody's going to have this tool on hand, but I do want to showcase that I have this on my tripod. It just made it way easier to adjust to different heights and get my level than moving it up and down on my ladder. I laugh at my power stance here in a second, but I had to mark at every 10 inches, but I didn't want to drop my measuring tape, so that was really attractive, that stance right there. Just a reminder, this is the middle of my wall, and I'll be working out from the middle, obviously, to make sure that I'm giving the most even spread, but also I can base an eyeball a lot better if I complete the middle versus working my way from the top or bottom. I found the center of each sticker as I was placing it. That way I knew that that first line that I'm laying down is perfection. I am not going to lie, I never really thought I would need a crossline laser, but now that I have 2 and I have different sizes, there's a lot of different projects that I'm thinking of to implement with these, and solely because I would have that laser there the entire time to make my life a lot easier like it did in this project. From dot to dot, there is 10 inches in total, not just the blank space, including the 2 stickers. That blank space in the middle is 8.5 inches, so that is the measurement I use to base my next line down to make it look completely even. This honestly took me 2 hours non-stop start to finish, and I alternated in between the spaces just to kind of give it some sort of design. I'm super excited about the outcome, and I'm really interested to see what the mini human looks like seeing her first phase come to life. Heaven has a Jack and Jill room. This is what it looked like before we moved in. The previous owners had it as a bedroom. I transformed it into her playroom. The part that you see is the gym. That is her current bedroom, which looks like this. And we designed this when she was 5 years old. It's very basic and neutral. She's so bubbly and bright that this is exactly what this paint transformation is already representing for her. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm just excited that she's full-blown diving into this and designing. She's already requested 3 different builds, and her first challenge for me is to keep this bed, but update the style of it for her room because she wants to keep it. So that should be interesting. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching how to paint in the first phase of the Mini Humans Bedrooms makeover. If you guys want to snag one of your own cross-line lasers, I've linked them down below, as well as all the materials that I used in this video. I'm actually going to be seeing you tomorrow for another DIY and Sunday as well.